Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping straight into a pretty radical architectural philosophy today.
Yeah, it's one that completely rejects both the wrecking ball and, I guess, the museum glass case.
Right. Our mission is to really explore how to bridge time through design. We are pulling from two really compelling sources for this.
There's an interview titled The Soft Radical and some conceptual notes from the architecture firm Midyar.
So we're unpacking an approach that challenges the baseline assumptions we typically see in city planning.
Specifically regarding how we interact with the built environment every single day.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've all seen developers hide behind that tabula rasa excuse.
The clean slate.
Right, the blank slate to justify demolition, framing it as the only path to progress.
Or on the flip side, you get strict preservationists demanding a structure remain completely untouched.
Like it's frozen in amber or something.
Exactly. There has to be a more dynamic middle ground.
Which brings us to Midyar.
Yes, they propose an alternative path they call Altneu, which translates to old new.
Right.
They argue existing structures shouldn't be treated as sacred relics we can't touch.
Nor as historical burdens to just throw away.
Instead, they view them as complex libraries of past solutions.
It's like using the physical structure as a vocabulary.
That's a great way to put it. Think of it as using the old words of a building to write completely new sentences.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if you have a massive abandoned industrial warehouse, you don't bulldoze it.
But you also don't preserve it as an empty monument to manufacturing.
Right. You take those heavy load-bearing columns and cavernous spaces, the old word,
And reconfigure them into a modern vertical farm.
or a high-density community hub. That's a new sentence. The architecture ends up feeling old and new simultaneously.
And this approach directly exposes the severe economic failure of the whole demolition mindset,
Tearing down a building destroys massive amounts of gray energy
which standard economic models almost always ignore.
because they only calculate the immediate visible cost of new materials and labor.
They completely write off the decades of investment and carbon and sheer human effort already locked inside that structure.
They just treat it as a sunk cost.
When you frame it as destroying existing capital rather than just clearing a lot, the traditional developer math starts looking incredibly wasteful. It's not just an ecological sin, it is genuinely bad economics.
What's fascinating here is Mediri applies that same critical lens to the opposite extreme.
The preservation side.
Right. Preserving an empty shell just for the sake of its heritage creates what they call a zombie building.
A zombie building. I mean, some downtown areas seriously feel like the set of The Walking Dead for architecture.
Oh, absolutely.
Just blocks of gorgeous historic facades with absolutely nothing going on inside.
They are completely dead to the community. Heritage actually belongs to the future, not the past.
That makes a lot of sense.
It is raw material that must be actively projected forward to remain relevant. A building that cannot adapt brings zero value to society today.
Since zombie buildings are everywhere, consider the spaces you inhabit every day. Your office building, or the local library, or your neighborhood cafe.
How do those structures actually serve the world around them?
Are they actively contributing or just taking up space?
To answer that, Mediri defines successful architecture through three distinct spheres that must be balanced.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, the structure must serve the client, which means solving the needs of the present efficiently and economically.
Makes sense.
Second, it has to serve society, meaning it respects the past and our collective memory.
So if the client represents the present and society represents the past,
Then the third sphere,
it has to be the planet representing the future.
exactly, securing the future through resource conservation.
But those spheres have to clash, right?
The real friction happens because these spheres naturally clash in the real world constantly.
The present versus the future is the classic battle. The client's immediate budget almost always fights against the planet's long-term ecological needs.
A client might want the cheapest demolition and rebuild to maximize short-term returns.
But serving the planet demands retaining that gray energy we talked about.
Or consider the clash between present and past. Adapting a building for a modern client might require altering elements that society wants to preserve.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
Only when a project bridges all three of those spheres, the present client, the past society, and the future planet, does the work become culturally relevant.
So true modernity isn't just about ticking sustainability boxes.
Not at all. It is a holistic comprehension of the past, present, and future working together.
We have to start building with built-in expiration dates.
The goal is to build frameworks that adapt rather than rigid structures waiting to be torn down.
So as you walk through your city today, take a look at the oldest, most rigid building on your block.
Just imagine it.
If society's needs completely vanished or shifted overnight, what entirely different futuristic story could those exact same walls be forced to tell without moving a single brick?